Hello, good afternoon to all. Can you hear me? Hello, Google, can you hear me? Okay, okay, okay. So where are the others? Only 27 have joined now. So I'll share my screen now. So during this first session, I will be going through those pending sections which we left out in fifth module. And after that, I will be giving you certain questions to study. You have to study that question and then you have to join the next hour. Okay. And we will discuss about the questions. And then I will be giving you a topic and for discussion, and I will be calling one by one, roll number wise and random order, and you will have to say something about that point. Okay. Is it clear? Is it clear? So now,
മാം
ah,
ഇന്ന് എടുക്കുന്ന പരീക്ഷയ്ക്കുണ്ടാവും
hello.
ഇന്ന് എടുക്കുന്ന പരീക്ഷയ്ക്കുണ്ടാവും
ഇന്ന് എടുക്കുന്നതില്ല. ഇന്ന് ഞാൻ ജസ്റ്റ് ആ പോർഷൻസ് ഒന്ന് തീർക്കുവാണ്. പിന്നെ ഞാൻ ഇമ്പോർട്ടൻറ്റ് ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻസ് എല്ലാ ഏതാണ് 4ഉം 5ഉം അല്ലേ നിങ്ങൾക്കുള്ളത്, അതിൽ നിന്ന് ഒരു റിവിഷൻ കണക്കെ പറയും. അപ്പോൾ അതിലെ ഇമ്പോർട്ടൻറ്റ് ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻസ് രണ്ടുമൂന്നെണ്ണം നിങ്ങൾ പഠിച്ചെഴുതണം ഇന്ന്. ഓക്കെ, ഇസ് ഇറ്റ് ക്ലിയർ? ഹലോ. So anyway, these portions are important for university exam. Okay. ഇപ്പോൾ ഓൺലൈൻ എക്സാം ആയിരിക്കില്ല, ഓഫ്ലൈൻ എക്സാം ആയിരിക്കും. അപ്പോൾ എൻ സെമസ്റ്റർ എക്സാം പോയിന്റ് ഓഫ് വ്യൂവിൽ ഇമ്പോർട്ടൻ്റ് ആയിട്ടുള്ള കുറേ സെക്ഷൻസ് ആണ് പറയുന്നത്. ഓക്കെ. So last class I think we stopped with statement of purpose. Now, what are the points to be considered when we are preparing the statement of purpose? And the statement of purpose is submitted by the person who is applying for this higher education to the universities, and it is a statement which directly communicates with the admission team. You are expressing your interest in opting a particular that particular area of study, and you're directly communicating with the admission team so that if they are convinced, they can choose you for the or shortlist you for the admission. So next we come to what is an instruction. So instructions are written or spoken directions for carrying out some action. So something that is, we also give instructions to the computer, that is through in the form of programs. We write programs, and these programs are nothing but instructions to the computer. Likewise, in a written form also we have to write instructions in a neat manner so that others can follow instructions well. So it uses second person point of view. That is, whenever you might have gone through instructions in manuals and all, and there they will be giving us step by step instructions regarding the operation, or if you are going to install something, then they will give you directions. First you have to do this procedure, second step you have to, they will be mentioning always you, yours, etc. That is the second person point of view. The contents will be written in second person point of view, and it is conveyed in active voice. The instructions in manuals, etc., they will be written in active voice, and it will be in an imperative structure, imperative mode. Then instructions are often written as numbered list for users to recognize the sequence of tasks. So instructions, they are often written as a numbered list. That is instruction 1, follow this step. Instruction 2, the next step, and so on. Okay, so instructions are often written as numbered list for users to recognize the sequence of tasks. But that is, the first task to be completed will be numbered as 1, and that instruction will be given. Then the second task, which follows the first one, should be written as a second point or second instruction, and again that should be followed. An instruction should be effectively written so that the procedure will be completed correctly. Okay. Then effective instructions, they often include visual elements. That is, if you are going to apply for some admission and all, and if you're going to do it online, they will give you step-by-step instruction. And in each of these instructions, they will give you the screenshot also. After clicking the OK button, what will be the next step, and so on. Along with visual elements, you can see the instructions. So instructions are, when you write instructions, the writing should be effectively written so that it will the reader will be able to follow the instructions correctly. So it is a form of it is a written skill which a person who is interested in writing instructions should develop. Then, now what are the basic features of instruction? Instruction should be specific and precise. That is, it should be to the point, and it should not be too elaborate. Then introduction with background information should be given. The list of parts or tools that are going to be installed or the conditions required should be mentioned. Then sequentially ordered steps should be there. That is, one by one step should be listed. Then graphics for easy understanding, graphics should be included. Then safety information, if it is some dangerous equipments you are handling, then safety information should be given. And there should be a conclusion that signals the completion of the task. That is, once the task is completed, what will be the end result? That conclusion should also be given when writing instructions. Okay, so these are the basic features of instructions. Then writing good instruction requires clear and simple writing, then a thorough understanding of the procedures and the technical details. Without understanding the correct procedure and details, you will not be able to instruct others to do so. Then ability to put yourself in the place of the reader. That is, when you are writing instructions for somebody else, think from the point of view of the reader, the person who is going to follow the instruction, so that you will be able to clearly identify whether your steps are going well. Then ability to visualize the procedure and willingness to test the instruction on the person you wrote them for. So if it is possible to test the instruction for whom you have written, then check the instruction with the group of people for whom you had written the instruction. So that is about instructions. Next is about checklist. In technical writing, it is used for planning purpose. So when we are writing technical, usually in technical writing, checklist is used for planning purpose. That is, it is a to-do list. That is, what all things that we should complete, what all work we should complete. So that is, it is called a to-do list. Okay, it is called a to-do list. This is a to-do list. So we can plan the checklist That is, a checklist is a way to break down a big task and quickly draw up a plan for the work. So you can break a big task into smaller one and complete each smaller task so that the entire task gets completed. And it helps to track the progress. That is, if if you have a big task, you have broken it down into 10 tasks, and if you have already completed 5 or 6 tasks, then 50% of your work has been completed. And it will be it is possible to manage time also, because there are certain tasks which can be carried out in parallel. So those tasks can be, if they are carried out in parallel, you can save time. So, and also when you are following the checklist, make sure that nothing is missed out. Then proofreading the checklist. This improves the quality, the content quality and review of one's own work. Once you have used a checklist, it improves the quality of your work. Now, examples of checklist include the following. One is document level checklist. And document level checklist means when you're going to write a document, what are the things, what are the, what are the things to be included in your checklist? That is, identify the purpose of writing the document, then identify the target audience, then headings are added on points, then text is divided into paragraphs. Each paragraph carries one idea only, then images are allowed wherever necessary, and spell checking is completed. All these things should be carried out when you are developing a document. So this is a checklist for developing a document. Okay. Then in sentence level, you should see that there are no complicated or long sentences, and all existing terms or jargons or abbreviations are explained. That is, the reader should be able to understand the terms that you are using in your document. So that is these are things that we should note down when we are developing a document or a statement or a sentence. Then next is analog versus digital checklist. Two types of checklist: analog versus digital checklist. Now, what is analog checklist? Analog checklist is the most common thing that we use. That is, we take a pen or a pencil, we write down all the points, all the work that we need to complete on a notebook, and once we complete each work, we tick each work, or we score, we mark out each of these work as we complete it. So, using a pen or a pen to cross out items on a piece of paper. You, as anybody who is working, they will carry out these they will use a checklist, namely the analog checklist. What they are using is the analog checklist on when they are going to write down the work to be completed on a piece of paper. Then it is the analog checklist. Then digital checklist is the checklist apps that are available, and it can be for smartphones or desktop like Google Notes, etc. They are digital checklist. Okay, so these are the two types of checklist: analog and digital checklist. So to conclude, checklists are extremely helpful for technical writers, so that we don't miss any points. So it is very important for technical writers. Then it can be used as a planner. Checklist can be used as a planner and also as a review instrument. Then no task will be left behind, and all obvious bugs will be fixed at any earlier stage itself. Okay, so these are the uses of checklist. So if suppose the question is what are the advantages of using checklist, then you can write these points. Okay, the advantages of checklist. Hello, are you listening to this class? So what are the different types of checklists? What are the different types of checklists? Anyone? What are the different types of checklists? Okay, Sriraj, analog and digital. Sriraj, just check the spelling. Okay. Okay. Analog and digital. Very good. Then, so next we are going to the basics of report writing, that is analytical and issue-based essays and report writing. That is, we are going to write essays or something, some argument papers, etc. So what are the things that we should take care of? That is, when we are writing a report. So what are the basics of report writing? So overview, that is, when you write a report, there is an overview, which is a brief summary that tells the reader quickly about the report. Overview is a brief summary. So when you write a report, the first page will be an overview of the report, or in your academic level, we call it as the abstract. So this is a brief summary that tells the reader about what the report is about. Then it identifies the purpose and important features of the report. In overview section, we identify the purpose of the report and also the features of the report, and it states the main conclusion and sometimes make recommendation in a few words. Then, though written last, it is always placed first in the final report. So, we write the overview only after completing our report. Overview is written as a at the last stage of our report writing. That is, after writing the report, at the end only we will write the overview. But when you place it in a book, we place it first in the report. A book or a report, when you place this overview, we put it in as the first page in the report, but usually it is written by the author at the end. Okay. Next, background. That is, it sets the scene for the reader. That is, what is this topic about? And that is giving the background for the report, and it introduces the subject. Background means it introduces the subject and explains the reason for writing the report. Then discussion, it presents your findings. That is, what all you have discovered, what all you have found out new to add to your report will be presented here, and it presents your findings, and there should be much evidences like facts, arguments, or details or data for the reader. All these should be provided by the author to the reader to understand the subject. Then all findings should be in an organized, logical manner to avoid confusion. So anyway, when writing reports, if the logical order is not followed, then readers will not be able to understand what it is. Next is the conclusion for the report. That is, briefly state the important points that can be drawn from the discussion. Finally, we conclude the report, and in conclusion, we specify the important points in the discussion. Important points of the discussion, and if there are many conclusions, state the important conclusion first, followed by decreasing order of importance. So if you have to conclude many points, the most important point should be written first, followed by the next important point, and so on, in the order of decreasing importance. So that is how we write a report. So the report should have, at the end, there should be conclusion, discussion, then background, and an overview. All these are to be written when writing a report. Next is, when writing a report, we refer to many documents, and we have to, and these documents which we refer should be mentioned at the end of the report, and that is reference. We call it as referencing and references, and this referencing style usually followed is the IEEE format. IEEE, do you know the expansion of IEEE? What is the expansion of IEEE? What is the expansion of IEEE? Anyone? Do you know the expansion? Nobody knows? Hello? Nobody knows the expansion? IEEE. IEEE, that is, it stands for Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineers. IEEE is Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineers. So IEEE referencing is the widely used system for attributing credit to authors whose findings, facts, or theories have contributed to your research paper. So if you are going to write a report or a paper, then you refer to other authors' findings and facts, etc. And based on that, we prepare a report. And if that is helping us, we have to reference it we have to refer to it in a document. So that is called referencing, and in the style that we follow in referencing is IEEE referencing format, and it uses numbering system that correlates to a numbered reference at the end of the research paper or the report. At the end, whichever paper we have referenced will be numbered and it will be put at the end. Now, whenever you are referring to this particular paper in your contents page, the number on the reference will be referred to in the chapters. So the numbers are used for referencing the these references that you had kept at the end. So it is a numbering system. IEEE format is a numbering system that relates to the numbered reference at the end of the paper. Then IEEE citation style includes in-text citation, then numbered in square brackets. That is, after you might have seen in textbooks and all, there will be numbers written in square brackets. Suppose if it is 2, when you read through a particular material, you come across number 2 in square bracket, then it means that that particular word it refers to is taken from the reference book mentioned at the end and numbered as 2, the second book mentioned in the references. So it refers to the reference list at the end of the paper. Then reference list is organized numerically and not alphabetically. That is, if in the first chapter you have referred to some papers, that will be put first, and then it will be you can no need to arrange it alphabetically. You have to arrange it in the order in which you have referenced it in the chapters. That is numerically. Then creating a reference list. Reference list appears at the end of the paper. Often, I think you had prepared it while preparing your PPT. You have kept references at the end of your PPT. So it can be a paper or a presentation. Whether it is a paper or a presentation, references will be put at the end. And it will provide the full citation of the references. That is, we had said earlier, when referencing, we have to give the full till the page number. We have to mention the book name, author name, the chapter name, as well as the page number should be given. So it is ordered numerically in the order, and they have been cited in the paper, and it includes bracketed number at the beginning of each reference. Okay, then title the list as references. Whenever you are keeping a reference, title it as references. Aligned at the center or at the left top of the page. When you are giving references, align it at the center of the page or on the left top of the page. These are the two areas where we place the heading references. That is either at the center, usually everybody keeps it at the center, or another position is the left top of the page. Then author's name is listed as first initial and last name. When you write the author's name in references, you have to list it as first name, then his initial and the last name. Then the title of the article is listed in quotation marks. That is in double quotes, the title of the article can be written. And then the title is a journal or a book is listed in italics. If it is a journal or a book, then the title of the book is listed in italics. In the references, you should list it as italics. I think now you have included in the normal font only, but when you keep a reference or a book, the title of the book or the journal should be given in italics. Okay. And also the title of, if it is an article, then the title of the article should be written in quotation marks. Okay. Then creating IEEE citations. Now in in-text citation, the in-text citation is shown as a number with square bracket. If a number is written with square brackets inside the text, then we call it as in-text citation. That is, citation is given inside the text. Citation means referring the references that you are going to choose will be referred in the chapter, and that referring to your references in the chapter is called citation. Then the full reference appears in the numbered bibliography at the end of the text. Then the full IEEE reference should include all necessary information for the reader to find the exact source of information. And there are different formats for referencing books, websites, academic journals, etc. in IEEE style. So I think this we have covered structure of a report. I think I covered from this section till the end. As I had when I had mentioned structure of a report, then I had covered types of report. Then types of bibliography also was covered in last class. Okay, so with this we come to the end of module 5. So in module 5, let me go through the important sections. See, technical writing. Where in module 5 we deal with technical writing, isn't it? So the first question that is the first important section that we come across is the difference between technical writing and the literary style. Okay, very important thing which you should know. What is the difference between technical writing and literary style? Okay, then so there are around 8 points. And letter writing, I think we had covered in module 1. There are different forms of letter writing, there are different types of letters, formal and informal. And you had written those letters as assignment. Okay. Then, so in module 5, the letter writing was already covered. Then job application letters we had covered. What are the importance of job, the points to be included in a job application letter. Then minutes preparation. So whenever somebody is attending a meeting, they will note down the minutes. And that is minutes preparation. What are the do's and don'ts of minutes preparation? What should be done? What should not be done when you are noting down the minutes? Then CV preparation. I think you had some. I told you last week to submit your resume. I didn't tell you to submit your CV. I told you to submit your resume only, isn't it? So first, as beginners, what you have to prepare is the resume, and I told you why we call it why resume is important for students, because a CV is usually for a person who has a good experience and they have something to list in their career. And CV itself means curriculum vitae. In their curriculum, what all they had, what all positions they had held during their period, during the period from the point of starting their job till the present stage. So they will be going through different positions in jobs, and all those will be listed in the curriculum vitae. So curriculum vitae is for a person who is already in the job. So for students, it is a resume that is suitable, because it is for a person who is currently applying for a job and no other and has no other experience. And biodata can be used by anyone. That is, you give your biodata to for matrimonial purpose, and this biodata can be sent to your insurance company, etc. So biodata means your details, your personal details. Okay, and we discussed about report writing also. So what is the difference between biodata, CV, resume, and report? Very important section, difference between a biodata, CV. Then, what are the elements of a report? What all things should be included in a report? And especially, what are the styles to be followed when you write a report? And that we call it as elements of style. Okay. And there are around 6 elements of style. You have to study all those. Then there are certain common errors that you make. Then describing a process, problems in describing a process. The use of sequence words was covered in module 1. Okay. Then then today we discussed, okay, then last class we discussed statement of purpose. After sequence words, statement of purpose were also discussed. Then tips for preparing a statement of purpose. Then today we discussed about what are instructions, how can we write effective instructions. Then features of instructions. Then checklist. Checklist is used for planning purpose only, and then we can proofread using checklist, and two types of checklist: analog and digital checklist. And then we have the basics of report writing, what all should be included, the overview, background, discussion, and conclusion also. Then you have to refer to all the books or journals that you had referred in the references section, and following the IEEE referencing style. Then finally we have the structure of a report, types of report, and types of bibliography. What is bibliography and types of bibliography? So these are the sections included in fifth module. Okay, is it clear? Is it clear to you? Okay, so now I'll give you half an hour to study. I'm joined by now it's 1:33, so join by 2 p.m. Okay, is it clear? Hello, 2 p.m. 2 o'clock. We have to join. 20 minutes. I'll give you time to study. Okay, and I'll be asking questions based on fifth module from fifth module. Okay, is it clear? Just go through the important headings and important points in fifth module, except what I taught today. Okay, is it clear? So join by 2. Okay, study and join by 2. I'll be taking attendance when you join at 2 p.m. Did you hear what I said? What is the time to join back? At what time should you join? Okay, okay, Ashwin, okay. Only then I'll take the attendance. So refer module 5, okay, and join back.